Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Nordic Sound Channel. As always, I'm your host, Jamison Foster, and today we have a long-time favorite of mine, two members from Hoven Droven, Kjell-Erik Eriksson and Bjorn Höglund. Did I pronounce that correctly?
You did. You didn't
Cool.
say Bjorn.
I did not.
Good for
I did
you.
not say Bjorn.
Good for you.
I would get fired on the spot if anyone heard me say that. So, Hoven Droven, for those of you who are not familiar, is a band known for, I would say, their audacious fusion of folk music with other types of music. It's where they get their charm. You guys have been nominated for 2 Grammys total in your careers, correct? In 2007 and again in 2021.
Correct.
All right, cool. And for the 2007, that was for Jumping at the Cedar?
Yeah, that was a live album that we recorded in Minneapolis.
Oh, it was in Minneapolis. That was my first album from you guys that I listened to.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was the album where I was like, I don't know what I'm listening to, but I love it. It's just so unique. Yeah. And then again in 2021 for Trad, right?
Right.
Cool.
Yeah.
And that album was sort of like your 30th anniversary album or something like that? Like the unofficial 30th anniversary celebration?
Exactly. We didn't get to celebrate properly because of the pandemic. So,
Right.
well, we had to do something. So we just got together with a healthy distance between each other and rehearsed.
Right.
And wrote a lot of new songs. And once, opportunity came about, we recorded and made the album. And we released it when there were still some restrictions here in Sweden, so we couldn't tour properly. But this summer we have been able to go out there and celebrate a bit late, but play the album and then, just celebrate the fact that we have been doing this for over 30 years now. Oh yeah. Do you happen to have a Colorado stop on that celebration? Well, touring the States has become more and more difficult. Yeah. I have to be honest. The visa procedure is killing us every time. And it's not easy. But we'll see. We still have a lot of friends and connections in the States, so hopefully. Yeah, I mean, I'm doing what I can to, make sure, like anytime I have to vote for anything, I make sure it has to do with making it easier for international musicians to show up. Because nice.
It's a big part of what I do.
Yeah.
And actually, before I talk more about your guys' music, you are all from Jämtland, correct?
Yeah, we live from the same town. Actually, we live in a town called Östersund, the only town in our county, Jämtland. Yeah.
All right, cool. So my audience is primarily American. And so when we think of Sweden, most of us think of, the beaches or Stockholm or Gothenburg. So would you mind telling us a little bit about what Jämtland is like compared to how people might usually envision like a cliche Swedish landscape? What makes Jämtland?
Sure. Jämtland is 600 kilometers north of Stockholm. In Sweden, they name us as we live in the north, but actually we live in the middle of Sweden, and we are also next to the Norwegian border in the western part. So we have a lot of mountains and skiing in winter, and lots of forests. So you can say it's kind of Canada, but smaller.
I love that. That's a good way to put it. And if I remember correctly.
Exactly.
Much smaller.
we did a tour in Yellowknife once. Have you been there?
No, I haven't.
It's like 2,000 kilometers north of Edmonton, I think. It's quite far, and we have this exactly the same what you call latitude as Jämtland. So it's quite far in north in the world. But so I remember when I was in Yellowknife, the feeling of the forest and the people, it's kind of the same as here. So
yeah, my favorite way to so I teach Viking history classes for undergrads, and then I also teach Norse mythology. But whenever I'm teaching the Vikings class, I try to think of the best way to explain to the students like just how harsh like that environment is, like especially before central heating or stovetops, right? And so what always sort of like gives them the culture shock is say, hey, you guys think of Alaska as a pretty cold and harsh place, right? And they generally agree, and I say, yeah, Norway and Sweden are at the same latitude as Alaska, like the whole country. And so yeah, for anyone listening, that's about to say, whenever you're thinking of what is Sweden or Norway like, just think about Alaska. There you have it.
There you go. Yeah.
And then am I remembering correctly that Jämtland is the one with the reindeer on the coat of arms?
Is it?
I didn't understand what you said.
Is Jämtland the region that has a reindeer as sort of its coat of arms? Do you guys know that?
No, I think we have the moose.
It's the moose,
right?
Right?
It's a moose. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Yeah. Just
that makes
just want to make sure I was thinking
actually.
of the right place. Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking, I was like, that's not.
It's a really big business, a big thing about where we live. To go this time a year ago to go to the forest to hunt or hunt mooses or elks. So
I had moose for the first time last month, actually.
Really? You like it?
Yeah. Oh, so I was at that Bjorn, I'm pretty sure I was telling you about this festival. I was at Midgardsblot, which is in Bura, Norway, which is a little bit south of, it's right across the water from Fredrikstad.
Right.
And it's this hybrid metal Viking market festival thing. And so they'll try to keep the food to like sort of match the theme. And there was a hut for just moose burgers. And
really?
I knew that was the first thing I was going to eat there. I didn't even look at the price tag. I didn't care. I was like, I'm trying moose. And that was my go-to dinner every time.
It is actually
best. It was so good.
It is delicious.
Oh yeah.
And thank you for the heads up. I actually turned our booking agent onto that festival, so he's looking into it.
All right, cool. Yeah, we'll talk more about that later because I just know that you guys would fit so well in there. All right, awesome. So now that we're on the same page of what Jämtland is, let's talk about what it's like being a band for 30 years, especially with just how much has changed with music in general in the last 30 years, let alone folk music cultures and that scene and everything. I'd love to just hear from you guys what, being a band since 1989, correct?
Yeah, we know each other's smell. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Like, what's it like being a band for 30 years? I mean, that's a pretty good answer. Just what each other smells like. It's like being married to 5 people.
That's pretty much it. If you can stand that, you're okay.
Oh, that's awesome. So before I ask what's changed, what has stayed the same for you guys over the last 30 years? Anything?
Well, friendship, of course. I mean, if we hadn't had that, we wouldn't have been a band by now. We actually enjoy each other's company for good and for bad.
Imagine that.
and the music, we all have different bands beside of the Hoven Droven, of course, and we do different genres. And but when we meet and we are the 5 guys of Hoven Droven, we make Hoven Droven music, and that's kind of unique because it sounds like us every time.
Oh yeah.
That is also I think it's a really nice thing to have a band in over 30 years. You have your sound.
Yeah, because I mentioned this in the in my review I did of Tread, where what I find really fascinating about you guys, among other things, is you have this chaotic, eclectic sound, but it always sounds like Hoven Droven. Like, no 2 albums are really the same, but they are the same at the same time. I know that's sort of like a cop-out answer, but it's like, how do you think it's just because you guys have those other outlets where you can go do your like something else on the side, but then come back and you all are on the same page about Hoven Droven?
Probably. Plus, we all listen to different kinds of music, and we come from all kinds of genres from the beginning. I mean, so we all bring different styles of music to the table. But but every time we get together and rehearse, music comes quite easily, and we always try to entertain ourselves. We always come up with ideas, and some of them we can feel straight away that, well, we sort of did that already, so no, we won't do that again. But so every time we release an album, it feels somehow fresh, even though I bet to some listeners it's like, oh well, another one. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, you can't please everyone.
But if you're into us and what we have done for the last 30 years, I'm pretty sure you can tell each album apart.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, they all have their own little signature, but that signature always says Hoven Droven.
I hope so. Yeah, I hope so.
So were you guys did I read correctly that you guys were in high school when you started?
Yeah, me and Jens, the saxophone player, we were a school called Folkhögskola, and that's a school for adults. And we had the opportunity to study music. And we started to play with each other. And Jens had some friends like Bjorn, and I had friends like Pedro, and we had lots of different band members at the time, right? At the time. So we started to play, and for me it was really nice because I have the folk tunes. I was the fiddle player, and I was really deep into this archive stuff and try to find the right tunes and listen to this old recordings and go to the old fiddlers, and it's really nice to hear my tunes with chords, because I used to have the melodies.
Yeah.
So we started to make chords and rhythms and bass notes to it. And in 91, after the school was over, people was disappearing, and we were Bjorn, me, and Pedro and Jens. And then we found the really nice guitar player, the hero from Östersund, Bo Lindberg. We know him with many bands. And then we also met Gustav Hylén. He was a former trumpet player and accordion player in a really nice band called Gropa. I don't know if you know them.
I've heard of them.
They were really big in the 80s. So we just seeing that around 91 is the time when Hoven Droven just became Hoven Droven as today.
So you guys were all friends that just wanted to make music together? Is that?
Yeah, right. Yes.
So yeah, that's it.
Did you consider, like, because Bjorn, you're the drummer, correct? You play drums,
correct.
Right?
Yeah,
and so so that's what you do. So when you guys get together and you have a fiddler who's really into the traditional music, then you have a drummer, which is nowhere to be found in traditional music. Did you guys even think of how to work around that, or did you just get together and just make music because it's what you wanted to do?
Well, yes and no. I mean, the drumming part is just like you said, there are no drums in traditional Swedish folk music. So when we started playing, I didn't play the drum kit, and there was actually an acoustic guitar instead of an electric guitar.
Okay.
So I played percussion from the beginning. We were very traditional from the beginning, very acoustic. So around the time we were playing a lot, and we were gathering material, and we were sort of heading towards recording our first album. That's when I think Bo started playing electric guitar and came up with a riff that were somewhat rock and roll. And we thought, well, why don't you use a distortion pedal or a fuzz? That could be cool. And that got the ball rolling. Well, if he plays with distortion, I'm going to use a drum kit, and then it went pretty fast, actually. From that point, a couple of months later, we were a full-blown rock and roll band.
Just with the click of a distortion pedal, it all came together, right?
Am I right, Kjell? Wasn't that how it was?
Yeah, that was exactly.
Oh my God, I love that.
So we got a record deal based on the material that we had come up with up until that point, which was in '93 for the first 3 years. And you can really tell if you have our first album called Hia Hia that came out in '94. You can hear the journey, You know
what? That's actually a journey I want to take.
Yeah, well,
I'm
nice.
gonna sit down and do that tonight, maybe.
You're very welcome.
Yeah, that's gonna be awesome. I'm really looking forward to that. Actually, my wife's gonna get home from work and be like, "Guess what we're doing tonight?" Yeah. So, Kjell-Erik, you already said that a bit of your background was, or at least your preferences at the time, was the more traditional stuff. What else were you listening to, or were you just so deep into the traditional stuff? Because I know how that works.
I always been listening to lots of rock and hard rock and AC/DC and Judas Priest and
hell yeah.
Sorry for interrupting, but there's an amazing picture of Kjell-Erik when he was. Do you know which one I'm talking about? When you were I think you were 15 or something.
This is this house I was doing the
really that very house.
I in this house now.
And you're in your underwear and you have used a marker. Kjell-Erik is a really good artist, and you have painted all kinds of heavy metal band logos all over your body. There's Saxon, there's AC/DC. It's an amazing picture. We should make that public.
You really should, because oh, that's incredible, because a lot of people are going to assume that you are the traditional guy, right? Because you're the one playing the fiddle. And if you put up this picture of just your own self-done tattoos of like Saxon and Judas Priest, oh my god.
That picture is gonna just put everything upside down.
No, but I always been interested in music, good music. But I always since I was a young teenager, I was really into the old materials, and I also interested by the old history about the culture and how the people was playing in it for 100 years, 200 years ago. So and I also been interested in all photos and trying to find out about my heritage, all that stuff. So I was really early interested in those kinds of things. But at the same time, I had this jacket with the Iron Maiden things.
Yeah, I get that. I went through the same thing. The whole reason I got hooked on traditional Scandinavian music was that, I heard a nyckelharpa for the first time in high school, and it was just game over for me. Like, I was just so obsessed with that instrument. I had to hear it, and that brought me to Väsen, and it brought me to so many other artists. And then you guys would start popping up in the shuffle too. And it was just, the whole reason for me was also, my dad always said, you're my mother's side was Swedish, and so I was like validating my interest in it like that. But then after a little bit of digging, there was one Swedish person on his mom's side, so he was exaggerating a little bit, but I was still already obsessed with it.
Well, you go with that small part then.
I do. And so I sympathize with that, or that resonates with me, that sort of wanting to know where you come from or your heritage or something, because even today, I'm not really Swedish at all, despite that one person. But every weekend I play the big upright bass with Swedish fiddlers in town.
Nice.
It's just a big part of what I do now. There's just no going back.
Well, you're going to be in Sweden sometime very soon, I guess.
I'm planning on next summer. I'm gonna because they go. They're retired, so they have all the time in the world. You'll get your turn to talk, I promise, buddy.
Hey, Cricket.
So yeah, he says hi, buddy. They usually go to Sweden a few times a summer, because they used to live and work in Sweden, in Stockholm specifically. And they said, next summer we're dragging you along with me. I'm like, please drag me along. So I'll let you guys know when. So Bjorn, for you, that is a Kiss t-shirt, correct?
This is a Kiss t-shirt.
All right, so I have a feeling.
Don't go there.
Okay, so I'm getting a little bit of an idea of the type of music you listened to when you were younger, or at least when you guys started as a band. Do you want to say a little bit more?
Well, Kiss is my band for musical reasons a lot when I was a kid. Nowadays, mostly nostalgical, but they're my band. You know how it is.
I do. I'm the same way with Metallica. When I was like, the way that Kjell-Erik just told you, don't get him started. That's how I was with Metallica when I was growing up. Everyone was like, don't mention that band to him, or you're going to be prisoner for like an hour as he tells you all of the lore.
Exactly.
Because Cliff Burton, their first bassist, is the reason I picked up bass in the first place. So like,
then you can come visit his memorial stone here in Sweden.
That's on the sightseeing list. Absolutely.
I bet. Yeah.
So just heavy metal for you. Anything else?
A lot of different kinds of music. You know, absolutely hard rock, heavy metal, classic rock. But you know, growing up, learning your instrument, you go deep into these guys that can, you know, handle their instrument very well. So I went through that whole, you know, Toto saga, symphonic rock, whatever guys could handle their instrument well. I was all over it. You know, didn't matter what they were playing, just as long as they could play.
Oh, that's great.
But yeah, but nowadays I'm really a, you know, song guy. As long as there's a good song, if it's folk music or heavy metal, it's just as I like songs, melodies. Actually, melodies is my thing.
All right, awesome. That's actually a pretty good segue into something else I wanted to talk about, because so you guys will probably relate to me on this then. Whenever I am playing in a folk music space, or whenever I am, you know, in that area, I sort of feel obligated to hide my heavy metal shirts, right? I'm going to put a flannel on over it and all that, and just, you know, I'm here for the tradition. Because it seems like the staunch traditionalists, because in America, what I've noticed is, and you guys might feel the same way, traditionalists here who really care for who are like the, I don't know, the culture garters or bearers of the American version of something, tend to be a little bit more protective of it, just because there's the geographical disconnect. And so that's at least my experience here. And especially, like, I don't even talk about playing heavy metal, especially when I'm playing like at the country dances or something like that. But you guys are in this fusion area between folk and rock. And so I'm really curious as to what your relationship is with the folk music scene, if there is one even, or how it's even changed over time, or how it's stayed the same.
Are you talking about the Swedish folk music scene?
Yeah, Swedish folk music scene. Yeah,
I think Kjell-Erik can talk a lot about, you know, when we came around in the 90s, we were part of a second big wave of Swedish folk rock. And by that I mean like fusion between traditional folk music and whatever other kind of music. There had already been a big wave in the 70s, so all the traditional players, they had already sort of had that battle in the 70s. So when we came around, it was new, it was fresh, but it had sort of already happened once. If you go back to the 60s, there were probably a bigger battle by the end of the 60s when people like Merit Hemmingsson and those guys came around. What do you think, Kjell? I mean,
in the 70s.
In the 70s, right?
Yeah.
We never experienced any hostile, you know.
That's good to hear.
You know, nothing like that.
I was expecting when we started the first record here. I was expecting that some people should tell us that this is not a good way to do it, but I have never heard one. And of course, everyone doesn't like Hoven Droven, but they don't speak about it and they don't shout about it. So that's true that Bjorn says that people are more understanding about music. And I think also because everyone in the Hoven Droven we are into the folk music. We're not just playing because we like the music, you know. It was also in the band. We have a band called Bo Lyckligs Gammeldansorkester, and we play this dance music, traditional way. Really, you can find us on Spotify. So it's really nice, really traditional.
Okay.
So we have the feet on the folk music, and also if you talk about the music we listen to, both me and Bjorn, we listen to a lot of different music, and that's also the rest of the band. We are all, the catalog back home of the records is from the early jazz, pop, rock, classical, you name it, everything. So we love the music and we just do something with it.
Good. I think that there is always a huge respect towards the traditional songs. Yeah, whenever we play traditional songs, I think people can tell that we do this with the most respect.
Good. Yeah. Because it's interesting for me, because my studies, like what I do as a researcher, is 90% Norwegian music history. And I feel comfortable saying that folk music scene in Norway would have been a lot more hostile. Because like Kjell, your instrument alone caused like 50 to 100 years of controversy and really bitter like arguments within the folk music scene, let alone if you even touched an accordion, right? And so to hear that you guys have not had that experience in Sweden is very interesting to me, because that's almost entirely different. Yeah, at least from my experience or what I've learned.
I think in Norway, I don't think they have had up until much later than in Sweden bands that combined tradition with modern music like rock.
Yeah,
they were a bit late on that. Am I right, Kjell?
Yeah, you're right and wrong, but mostly right. One of the first band we had a band called Stuffed, and they did this songs with Sigbjörn Bernhoft Osa. He played this rock band. He played in Halling with a rock band, and it was a really a big thing in Norway. Everyone was screaming that this was wrong.
What when?
In the 70s. Okay. But then they haven't had this folk rock band tradition as we had until now. Now there's lots of good folk rock bands in Norway.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Even from my perspective, it seems like they sort of jumped over folk rock and went right into folk metal.
That's true. Okay. Yeah.
All right. Yes. Yeah, so I mean that's really interesting to me, because the fiddlers I play with here, they are American born, but one of them, his name is Mike. He then went to work in Stockholm in bioscience or something like that. Is something way above my head. And so he ended up living in Stockholm for like 10-15 years. And in that time is when he picked up the fiddle. He didn't pick up the fiddle until he was in his 30s. But he just fell so in love with like the traditional dance stuff that he picked it up just to keep himself busy. And now he leads dances in Swedish festivals and stuff like that sometimes. And he's told me that he's had some people be upset just at the idea that an American is leading the dances, but it's always like one or two people out of 100. And so that's why I had a feeling that you guys might have not had that much friction, but I didn't know if it was different.
No, there has been some, but in the bigger picture, not a big deal.
I feel like you guys are just too damn fun. Like, like if you're the guy who's like getting mad at Hoven Droven, you know what I mean? It's just like, really? It's Hoven Droven. Come on. Like,
you might have a point, actually.
It's
especially
like
when
no, you go.
Especially when you see us live. I think we're pretty, we can turn over a pretty tough crowd. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. And then so let's talk about just how you guys don't take yourselves seriously in the right way. You know what I mean? Like, I can tell that you guys take what you do very seriously. You're very proud of your work, but that part where, at least in terms of what might be like ego or something like that, you guys seem to like have a lot of fun with yourselves. And as an example, I'm thinking specifically is whose idea was that album cover for Fela Inferno?
Because you mean the single?
The single cover, because that popped up on my Spotify and I just lost it, right? Because I had already known you guys, and also I'm like, that's a colorful album cover. I wonder who this is for. And I see the animations of you guys just walking disco across. Well, I lost it. I was laughing for like a solid 5 minutes.
Did you see the video?
I absolutely saw the video.
Well,
I just
there's your answer.
Whose idea though? Or was it just everyone?
I don't. Well, Bjorn. What? Yeah, I think you. Was it? Yeah.
Was it my idea?
Yes.
The cover?
Yeah, the cover was your idea, and I drew it.
Yeah, you drew it, but was it my idea really?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Because I think that was just so Hoven Droven. Like, I wish I could just show that to people. Be like, you've got to listen to this band.
Well, it's on Spotify if you want to see it.
Oh, well, absolutely.
But the story was, we were recording the album and we did it in like three parts. We did 4 songs each day or something like that.
Okay.
And after the first day, our producer Johan, when we left the studio, he said, "Well, that was good and all, but next time just bring a disco song." And we didn't get the joke. He was joking, but we didn't get it. So we were, really? Okay. So we went to rehearsals and then started fiddling around with the idea of making a disco song, and I think we've sort of pulled it off. And then when we had done it, we were like, well, we got to take this all the way, you know. The record company started to say, well, we need some videos. Okay. And that set them.
And that's what I'm talking about. Like, that's what makes you guys like such a special experience, right? Like, you'll hear a joke, bring disco next time, and you'll be like, oh, okay, cool. And then you bring a friggin' disco tune and you commit.
Well, we sure did. You should have seen us walking down the street trying to be John Travolta, you know.
Yeah, I'm going to take this moment right now to tell anyone who hasn't seen it, please watch that music video. I'll link it and everything, but please.
Yeah, it was pretty horrible. It looks kind of good, you know. Okay, we can, you know, we can just drop it right here. We're dancing, but it wasn't easy. We had a choreographer and everything, but that took like 100 takes and many hours editing. We were horrible.
Oh, I believe it.
Yeah. Thank you for saying it. I think you're right. We don't take ourselves very seriously, no.
And that's why it's like you're gonna be mad at Hoven Droven. Like sometimes they're mad at Hoven Droven. Like
right.
So, but the reason you're in good company here. The fiddlers I play with every Monday night, there's a Scandinavian dance class, right? And I'm playing the music for the class, and every week the teacher tries to get me to learn some different traditional thing. She started with Hambo and trying to teach me the steps to Hambo, and I was just tripping all over myself. I couldn't do anything, so I can't even imagine having to do that for like your band's music video. So, and then that's another interesting thing is when you guys were doing the music video with that, it's sort of, were you guys nervous at all that, because at least if I was doing something like that, it's one of those things where it's funny if people know this is supposed to be funny, but like if someone watches it and they're like, these people think they are like walking down the street with sunglasses, is there like that, was there ever that sort of anxiety that like, well, they know this is a joke at this point, or what?
The first time we walked, I thought it was like, oh shit, this is the next time was like, well, this feels real nice. And I thought it was, yeah, I'm Travolta, you know, so it ended up well.
I don't think it crossed our minds once that we were making a fool out of ourselves, because we do that every time we play. So
it's just a part of the territory at this point.
It's just part of the territory. It's just what comes with being in this band, you know. But it's just one of those things that made us feel like we're doing something new in our little world, you know?
Yeah, and so I've got this question is going to sound odd at first, but I promise it's going somewhere. When you titled it Fela Inferno, and then it was a disco tune, did everyone in Sweden know that it was supposed to be Fiddle Inferno, or that you were referencing like a fiddle when you wrote Fela?
That's a good question. I haven't thought about that.
Because in the States,
it's obviously a take on Disco Inferno, the song from Saturday Night Fever.
Right.
That's where it came from.
Because are you guys familiar with Fela Kuti?
Yeah.
No. Well, I'm not.
So Fela, Kjell-Erik, do you want to tell them about Fela Kuti?
I know some people have thought we're going to do a tribute to Fela. He's an African. I listened to him.
He was a Nigerian musician.
Yeah, right.
He really sort of invented, or he at least made Afrobeat, like what we know of it today.
Oh,
so when I saw that you guys were doing a disco tune and it was called Fela Inferno, because I'm American and to me I don't immediately think Fela is fiddle, like I was like, oh wow, they did a tribute to Fela Kuti. That's pretty like esoteric or cultured or something like that. That's fascinating. But then I read it and I was like, oh wait, that's Swedish for fiddle. So I was wondering if you had anyone, at least in Sweden, who was like, love that Fela Kuti tribute, guys. That was really well done.
I haven't thought about this up until now, actually.
Okay.
Nobody brought it up during the process of making this album.
Right. Well, but I know some people have asked me about Fela Kuti, and I was telling them that it's the fiddle, name the fiddle, Fela. So
yeah, all right, cool. Yeah, because it took me too long, right? And I studied Nordic music, and it even took me too long to realize you were talking about a fiddle.
Maybe we should have pointed this out on the album or something like that.
Well, no, because I assume I'm in the minority here, like thinking of Fela Kuti, right? So with the album, Fela Inferno was a single for the album Trad. I love that you guys, again, I'm going to use this word again. You guys had the audacity to name this album Trad, right? Because in a lot of ways you're anything but, even though you have a deep respect and you absolutely use traditional music in what you do, naming the album Trad, I thought was pretty daring. So do you guys want to say a little bit more about that?
Well, we explain it pretty good on the cover, actually.
Right.
We know it was pretty ballsy because there's like one traditional song on the album, maybe two. The rest of it is all new. So, but Kjell, go ahead.
No, but the music we made is based on the trad music, and I also have the hoping that the music will become a trad music in 50 or 100 years or something.
Oh, right. I remember reading something about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I really like that.
We are in the middle of the trad because, also the trad music we play has been composed sometimes,
right,
in the beginning. So we are in the middle of the tradition, and we're still making the traditional music, and now in for the future. So that was the thought.
Right. So do you guys think you would have gotten away with naming your first album Trad?
One more time.
Probably not. Probably not.
Just going to repeat it for Kjell. Do you think you would have gotten away with naming your first album Trad?
No.
No,
I don't think so.
It's very strategic.
But we that time we had I think it's almost trad music, right? The first album. We had some.
Yeah. We were actually more traditional on that album, but no, I think that wouldn't have come across very, very well.
So how has the folk scene changed since you guys started? And then looking at how it's changed in that way, how did that sort of lead up to your creative vision for the album Trad? Because I'm assuming that the Swedish folk music scene has changed a little bit since 1989.
Absolutely, but it's ever growing. Every time we've been taking too long between albums, and every time we go out and properly play, we meet a whole new generation of players. So we can really tell that this thing is still growing, and kids are learning to play, kids are curious, kids are creative and creating a lot of new music all the time. At least that's what I see. I don't know about you, Kjell.
Yeah, and also in the last 20 years, lots of schools have started to have folk music. You can teach and learn folk music at folkhögskola, and also lots of people are in the starting bands and like trad bands and rock bands, you name it, but mostly make it to trios. A lot of trios playing around.
Oh yeah.
So that's true that what Bjorn is saying, that the folk music scene is, well, maybe it's not growing so much, but it's the same kind of. What's changed is the media's view on the folk music scene. In the 90s, there was a big spot on the folk music. We played at the television and radio, and maybe in the end of the 90s, in the 2000, the media was away from, and now we have lots of big band. Sara Parkman, have you heard of her?
No, I haven't.
No, she's really big. She make this folk pop music, really nice, and she's became very big in Sweden.
Okay.
And that's brings the rest of us can join her at the journey. The same when we started in the 90s, we had the Hedningarna, and then they had,
oh yeah,
they were really big. So we help each other to bring the folk music to the media, but we still play. If you go into the folk music, like a fiddle meetings in the like being heard, there are lots of kids playing and lots of people. So I'm not afraid.
I think the media thing is not only about folk music. That comes across on every genre. Media is occupied with different stuff. Every genre has their own part of, whatever media outlet we use today, YouTube, Spotify, or Spotify or Instagram, or every you don't read about Kiss maybe Kiss, but yeah, the bigger media is not very focused on smaller genres of music, any types of music these days.
Right. Yeah. So do you guys think that because of all the young people or the new fresh faces you're seeing, did that have any influence on what you guys decided to do for this album? Like, hey, this is our moment to sort of like, I don't know,
let's do disco. No.
Yeah, that's cool, right?
That's cool, right? Well, hello, fellow kids.
Hello, kids. We're down with the kids. Let's do disco.
Oh, that's so great.
So no.
So then what then was your creative vision going into trad? Like, what did you guys want to do differently, if anything?
Musically, nothing. When we're in rehearsal, we do what we have always done. We just toss any idea that comes out, just toss it in there. We're a very democratic band, any idea, good or bad, we try it, and everyone has like a common sense of when it works or not. So, but then when it comes to recording or sounds, that might be when we sort of choose what kind of way we want to go with music. This time we added a string quartet, for instance. We've never done that before. So we have a string quartet on I don't know, 3 or 4 songs. So that was kind of new. That broadened the whole listening experience, I think, for people who hear the album.
Okay.
But when it comes to arranging and because that's pretty much what we do, we're a band that arranges these traditional or non-traditional melodies. It's all about the melody. And I think that we've had the sense of that from the very first rehearsal we did. It's all about the melody. You can't force something upon the melody. We all feel when it works or doesn't work.
Right. That's a great way to put it.
I think. Am I right, Kjell?
Yeah, absolutely right.
Yeah, Kjell, do you agree it's democratic, or is Bjorn over there with the nun's ruler saying it's democratic?
No,
it's democratic in the way that I always get what I want.
Yeah, right. But the thing is, really perfect thing, the best thing with the band is also that if I have an idea and the rest of the guys are thinking, no, that's not good, I say, okay, let's drop it. And that's all of the bands, or the band members are the same. That's really nice that you can take a no, and so it's no hard feelings. We try, and we know that we work together, and we will find the right spot on the tune.
Yeah,
and I think for me it was maybe the most fun way to make this record. Was really fun to make because it was really made it very fast. And I had some kind of a melody. I made it the same day, and then I just tried to teach myself the tune. And Bjorn and Bosse was finding some chords and the riff and some rhythm, and we made the tune the same day. So
that's awesome. I love it when music comes together like that. You have no time to think about it. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this, but the way the show South Park is made is very deliberate, where they only have 6 days, and like they do that on purpose because they know that if they're going to sit too long with an idea, they might ruin it.
Yeah.
So I always, as a musician myself, I love it when a piece of music comes together in like a day or less, because I just know that just came right out. I don't have to overthink it. It's done. Way to go. Is that how most of this album went for you guys, or was that just a select lucky few songs?
This album was exactly like that. I mean, other songs way back in the days we may have worked on a long period of time. It doesn't necessarily make them better when you listen to them today, but you know, it happens, you know.
Right.
A lot of songs that we put a lot of time into, we just drop. We never finish them. So there's a lot of those too.
Oh yeah, that happens all over the place. I'm always curious about, you know, when public domain reaches, you know, we were talking about Saxon earlier, like, or Iron Maiden, you know, there's going to be a time when all those when all their like B-sides come out into public domain. That's going to be quite an adventure. So I thoroughly believe that after 30 years, you guys have quite a pile of unfinished ideas or something like that.
The problem is they're not documented, so we don't have any demos or, you know, recordings of them. They were just, I remember we were in Estonia one time, probably 20 years ago, and we had a couple of days off, and Bo and Kjell-Erik shared a hotel room and a case of beer. So when they came down in the morning, they said, well, we just composed the whole new record. So they came down with like 12 songs that they had composed. They had done. They were done. I mean, in their mind, we were done. I think we used one of them in the end, but
okay. See, that's the thing is, you know, when you got a case of beer, you know, whatever your fun of choice is for the night, you know, you're like, wow, I came up with a whole album's worth of music, and then you listen to it sober, and you're like, this is terrible.
Yeah, absolutely terrible. I think you sort of came to that conclusion yourself. Yeah. But that morning you were all fired up. We've done the whole album last night. We're awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, and a day later, you're like, I hope no one ever hears this.
Yeah.
So, did each of you have a favorite tune on the album? Kjell, like, did you have one in particular? I know there was a fiddle tune on there. Which one was you guys mentioned there was one traditional one. Which one was that?
Stugun and Isak Anders.
Isak Anders, that was the one I was thinking of.
Yeah, from Ardorn. That's a nice tune. But my favorite, it's hard. I think Spoven is my favorite.
How about you, Bjorn?
Bird, Spoven.
Yeah,
I don't know the English name of
is it.
The book.
Would that be a sparrow?
No,
not
a sparrow. I don't know if we have to look into that. That information might come in handy later.
I feel obligated to bring it up.
We have to check into that. We don't have an answer.
All right.
My favorite song. I'm very fond of Jensine. I really like that track.
Honestly, you know what's funny? That's my mom's favorite song on the album.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, you're. You guys are actually one of my parents' favorite Swedish bands.
Wow.
Yeah.
Say hi to mom and thank her.
Oh, will do. All right, good. We got Kjell back. I was a little nervous for a second. The video went out for a minute.
Well, I have to charge my.
Oh no.
Tone.
Okay, there we go. So what about Bjorn, for you? What about Jensine makes it your favorite? Because it's just, to me, like, you know, you said melody is your big thing, and I have a feeling
it has a beautiful melody, and it's just one of those songs that came about really quickly. It had a very natural groove to it. I think we got the sound right. The string arrangement is beautiful. Jens did that. Plus, I have a soft spot because my daughter is in the video. So every time I watch it, I go like, yeah. So every time I watch it, I go like, oh.
Oh, that's really sweet, actually.
No, but I really like the song. It's just one of those moments. You know, I really like it.
All right, awesome. Yeah, so I have to say my favorite is, you know, Fela Inferno is always going to have a special place in my heart. But when you guys open up the album with, I'm just going to read the name here so I don't butcher it, Americalinian.
Right.
That's just like, you know, you guys said you can sometimes go a little too long between albums, right? And I love it that you open up this one with like kicking the door down. You're like, it's Hoven Droven. We're back.
But at the same time, it's an opener that we haven't done before. We have had we've tended to sort of structure our albums the same way through the years, in the way the order of the songs and everything. This time we decided to just throw everything upside down. So it's not a traditional opener for Hoven Droven, but it's a really good opener. I think we all, when the idea came about, we all went, yeah, we can try that.
We can try that. Sounds good. I just wanted to let you guys know. I looked it up, and apparently the English name is it's a curlew. A spova is in English called a curlew.
Oh, okay, really?
Yeah, I'm a huge bird dork. You can probably assume from the bird I keep captive.
Exactly,
in my home.
right.
But my wife and I are huge bird watchers. So when you guys are like, "Oh, what's this bird called?" I'm like, "This is my time."
Right.
So, are you guys working on any new music anytime soon?
No.
Oh,
but
not even going to tease me.
But we should.
I have some new tunes that we didn't have time to put together. So I have some in my head. Yeah, we have
You've been busy.
We started to record the songs we already had, so we used. So I have some in my head.
Good. Oh, this is where Bjorn's hearing it first, right here.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right.
Well,
yeah. So
we were 10 years between albums this time. So we actually put out an EP in, I don't know, 5 years ago. So we had like a pit stop with an EP 5 years ago, and then 10 years is just too long. So
yeah,
it's time.
Well, you also can't rush perfection.
We're getting old, damn it.
So just before we wrap up here, I did want to pick your guys' brains a little bit about that festival. I mean, Bjorn kind of already said, you got your booking agent on it. So I guess we already sort of talked about this at the beginning. But are you guys familiar with the band Stammen?
No.
Spelled.
Nope.
I might be butchering the pronunciation. It's YM:*Stammen.
Stammen. No. Swedish.
They might be Norwegian, but like you couldn't tell, right? Because they also do this fusion thing, right?
Right.
And there were plenty of bands at this festival. It's a pretty interesting festival because I said, they market themselves as a heavy metal festival, but then both of the headliners are acoustic. So
wow. And they came and they went down well.
Oh yeah, because are you guys familiar with Vardruna? Vardruna's like
yeah.
So this is their logo back here. I got their latest vinyl here. He does the Viking music stuff. His name is Einar Selvik. He did the music for the Vikings TV show and all that, and he's sort of
Norwegian band, right?
Yes, Norwegian. Yep. And then there's also, so he was one of the headliners. And then the last night was a band called Heilung, which is you guys might have seen them on YouTube. They're the band with the antlers, and they only play on like hide drums. But anyway, it's like this weird mixture of folk and heavy metal, but in a way that doesn't use guitars. It's like one of the biggest questions of like, why is everyone okay with calling this metal? Everyone's fine with it. It's great. Everyone loves it. But everyone sort of like says, yeah, this is a good headliner for a metal festival.
Nice.
And yeah, so I just want to let you guys know.
It's the attitude, right?
It's the attitude. That's always sort of what I say. It's entirely the attitude. And that's pretty much what makes them, this great headliner. But yeah, there were plenty of like fusion bands. And in 2019, they had Garmana. Are you guys familiar with them? They
good friends.
Oh yeah, they played that festival in 2019. Really? Yeah, and apparently, I'm since I was sort of working there, some of the people who organized it were telling me they were a little nervous about if they'd be accepted at this heavy metal festival, but everyone went crazy for them. So I feel like you guys would fit right in.
We'll definitely look into that. We have played a lot of various places during the years, jazz clubs, rock festivals,
hell yeah,
jazz festivals, folk festivals. I mean, we've done it all except the heavy metal festival. So
check it off your list. Come say hi.
Yeah, we have to do it now.
Yeah,
we have to do it.
Awesome. Yeah, and then as I said, I'm going to tell you guys when I'm in town, when I'm in Sweden, I'm definitely going to hit you guys up. So I'd love to meet you in person.
Nice. Absolutely, do that.
All right, cool. So before we wrap up here, is there anything else you guys wanted to talk about with the album that we didn't get to?
Well, it's available on cassette. That's what I want to.
Oh, it is? Okay, I got to get me a cassette of that. I don't even have a cassette. Oh, yes, I do. Hold on. My record player has a cassette player in it. Yeah, it does. I never actually used it. Yeah, I'm going to give myself that cassette. So where else can people follow you guys, learn more about your music, that all that good stuff?
Well, we're on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and the music is all available on Bandcamp. At least the new stuff.
I love that cassette.
Right? That was my idea too, actually.
Yeah. I mean, it's great.
Well, we had to do it.
After we did this, ABBA did it also.
Right.
Oh, right.
Yeah. We were first.
Yeah, in this age of, where you no longer own music, right? You just sort of stream it.
Right.
People are really into those collectible parts of it.
Right.
That's why vinyls are big. All the heavy metal bands that were at that festival were all selling cassettes, and everyone was like, I don't have a cassette player, but I want this cassette.
Right.
Yeah.
So absolutely. And you guys do have a merch tab on your website, right?
We do.
Where they can buy that?
We do.
Cool.
There's a lot of print on demand stuff that's pretty cool if you want to get it. Yeah.
All right, awesome. Yeah, so thank you guys so much for being on the show. You were this channel's only third guest.
Really?
So, yeah. This channel's pretty young. The very first one. You guys might even know him. Do you guys know Alakar?
Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah. Allah was my first
absolutely.
guest. He came on. He took the plunge to trusting this random bearded American who wanted to talk to him about his music. Nice. And then I just had my second interview Tuesday, and so now it's Thursday, and you guys are my third one. So congratulations!
Nice.
You made the top 3.
Nice.
Yeah, I really do appreciate you guys coming on. Yeah,
what an honor. It was fun.
Yeah, it can be intimidating to just the stranger wants me to video call with him, and then he's gonna like publish it on the internet. Like that can be a little weird.
No, we're good.
All right, cool. Hell yeah. Well, again, thank you guys so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. I hope to have you guys on again in 10 years when you release your next album.
Hopefully sooner than that.
Right, cool. So
we'll absolutely let you know.
Yeah, so thank you guys so much, and look forward to talking to you again.
You too.
Right,
thank
cool.
you.
Peace, guys. Yeah, see you later.
Hey,
Hey, though.
Hey, though. Yeah.